because I find myself having this conversation with myself and my son all the time. Because I think in many ways we're similar in thinking about the approach to parenting and how we approach it, right? So take that example of, I need your help building a table. In my head is often going like, all right, totally everything you're saying, right? Like, let's do this the right way. I don't want to be yelling. That's a baseline thing. I don't think
Yeah.
that's healthy for me to just be yelling and demanding things. I don't think that is good. Although, some people would argue it is, but I don't think that's good. So, right. So I don't want to do that, but I do want him to help. Right. And I do want him, but I want to respect him at the same time.
And you
And then
want him to be happy to help.
and I want to be happy to help. Right. But then even that, I could go to this place, and I'm sure you've gotten this questions of like, but I don't want him to be spoiled. I don't want him to be entitled. I don't want him to think like, hey, I need your help, but only on your terms. And even that, like, it's so hard to parse out which part of that is my own ego and insecurity to be like, when I need his help, he should just come and help and he should appreciate it. And what part of that is me just trying to raise a good person who understands that, like, hey, sometimes life doesn't go the way you want. It's not always exactly where you want it to be. You have to deal with discomfort. Doing a nice thing is helping somebody else, even if you'd rather be doing something. Like, all of that is floating around and trying to get to the right answer. And what I started doing with a lot lately is like, he'll be like, but why, Dad? Why do I have to do that? And it's almost a joke with us now, but I'll be like, well, at the root of it, because I love you, because I'm trying to figure out how to teach you to be a person that's going to be happy and successful and care about people in this world. But in all of that is rooted like my values being pushed on him and me trying to so it's illustrating exactly what you're saying and the nuance of it and why that's so hard. So I don't even have a question in that.
Well, I would ask you, when your wife wants you to do something, would you want her to expect you to stand right up and get it done that minute? Or would you say, I'll get to it when I have a chance. I've got some bills to pay, or I need to mow the lawn first, or,
well,
I
it's
don't know
interesting
what,
because the simple, I think, direct answer to it is like, yeah, I'd want her to have some understanding and understand that I have stuff going on too. I think, and you'll hear this in me through this conversation and other people that have listened, I have a general like working distrust of the human mind. And by that, I mean, just using this as an example, like, I think it's so easy for us to take those outs. And like, if I allow my mind to do it, I could be like, almost like, how dare you ask me? I have so much stuff I have to do, and I could be bullshitting myself when really I could go do it right now. But I take, and that's what I worry about with my son too. Like, I don't want to give him too many of those outs where he thinks like, no, I shouldn't have to do that. It should be on my terms. And I know that's not what you're saying, but that speaks to that delicate line that you're trying to balance. So sorry. Yeah, that's how I think about it.
Yeah. And so okay, when you're talking about that, you're saying that your wife, say, if in that example, how dare she? How I'm busy too, and then you're bowing up, and
exactly.
So what I'm going to say in this example is action, not words. Okay, so if you think that you're telling your son, because I love you and I want you to be good to people, but he's just blah, blah, dad's lecturing. Dad is lecturing. You are not instilling love and care and appreciation that his dad loves him in a 9-year-old by saying it. But you are instilling how he treats other people and how you treat him, and respect and love, by saying, Joe, I need your help building a table. So now I'm flipping that script on you, where initially, you had that, you had raised that red flag about like, well, you need to do it because I said, you were suspicious of my method because, we're debating.
Yeah, totally.
You were a little suspicious of that method because you thought, well, he's going to be spoiled and entitled. Okay. So I'm going to challenge you to consider that. Would you say that your wife was behaving spoiled or entitled by saying, having an expectation that she needs that light bulb changed, now because I'm doing the dishes and I can't, like, so your kid is the same because he's an adult in training. And that's sort of where you want to split that thinking, because we tend to think that because they're young, we have control over them. And that is the shift in thinking, is that they're adults in training. So if I look at you as an adult, I'm going to have different expectations of you, which is good. We want that accountability. We want that expectation. So now if I ask my son in advance, hey, what do you have going on later? I need you to help me build this table. And this is what I teach. I teach like a parenting in advance type of way, because you look for patterns. And then anytime you see a behavior twice, that's a pattern. So now we back it up and we sort of work to circumvent that. We will go around that. So now if your kid's like, well, dad, blah, 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 blah. Now, but if we go, hey, Joe, can you help me build this table? What's a good time for you? And he's like, I don't know. 7. Okay, 7 o'clock, done. Well, now you're going to teach him, I hear you. I'm committing. At 7 o'clock, I'm going to come looking for you. And if he's complaining, now you get to say, but we agreed. Mm-hmm. So partnership parenting is we. It's not I, it's not you. The word we, and I joke around, I talk about this in podcasts and in my book about it took my husband years to realize that when are we going to vacuum means, can you vacuum? No, really, I'm not kidding you. It really, and he's a fighter pilot. I mean, the guy is sharp, right? And I'm like, what, are we going to get to vacuuming this weekend? And that's why we know how we divide up the chores and stuff. And he usually does do the vacuuming. But if I don't instigate, a little subliminal something, when are we going to vacuum? And, and it would just sort of subliminally lead him to, get it done without being like, when are you, the word you is so off-putting. So when we talk about respect, we talk about partnership parenting. It's we, and that's how you want anyone to treat you, and your relationship with your wife will be better, and your friends and your work people and your son, because your self-awareness is telling you, right, I need to show up a little differently. Yep. Let me see how I can approach this in a pre-parenting way. So I know he's going to bow up. And I think if I tell him, well, do it because I've done all these things for you, and because I love you, and because blah, you're going to be a better person. He doesn't care. Action. And the action means I'm reserving you in advance, even though you're 9, you've got plans that you might want to go to a friend's house. You don't know. And respect says, I respect you to manage your own time, and that I do need your help, and that I value your help. So yeah, different way of thinking. It's counterintuitive, but
it is in some way. Well, in some ways it's very intuitive, in that, as you're saying that about that, like the entitlement point, right? And worrying about that. I think in many ways what you're getting at with self-awareness and where we were in the beginning is like that true clarity is self-awareness all around. So the ability for me to worry, like if I tell my son I need him to help me with this table, and if I make it too loosey-goosey of a request, he might come off as entitled. Well, I have to flip that on me too and be like, why do I think I get the right to demand something of him? Like, isn't that me being entitled? So like, I'm worried he's going to be entitled and selfish and only think about himself. So the way I'm going to fix that is I'm going to do that for myself.
And you're thinking that by using words, and this is what we all do, you're thinking by saying, I'm teaching you because I love you, and blah, 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 blah. I'm verbally telling him what I want him to absorb and to feel, but I'm not showing him.
Well, right. I think it has to be, I would agree. Well, let me ask you, because I think I'm a firm believer that, and I'm not saying I'm right about this, but that it has to be both. I think actions, without a doubt, like modeling it, showing it, doing it. I love the parenting in advance, because I think that's an opportunity to do it, not in the heat of the moment, when it's clearer and kind of show it and all that. I do think there's value in explaining, I use the word logic probably too loosely, but like the logic or the rationale, showing the work of like what I'm thinking and how I'm thinking, in much the way I think as you talk about preparing somebody for adulthood, because I do want him to connect the dots and see the thought process and understand the context, so that when the actions are there too, there's this appreciation. And I totally hear you, right? At 9 years old, even at 19 years old, even at 39 years old, we only hear and consume so much. Like some of it we just tune out. But I do think there is value in explaining what it is and what it looks like. I'm curious your honest take on it, and I have no reason to believe you wouldn't be honest. Like, is that right? Or do you think actually most of what we tell our kids is pretty useless and it goes in one ear out the other?